My name is Lily Hayes, and I'm 34 years old. Last Thanksgiving, my mother texted me, "Don't come, daughter, I'm busy." I drove 3 hours anyway. The moment I stepped inside, I saw my own mother in her own house, wearing a dirty apron, refilling wine glasses, while my brother's wife leaned back and sneered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mum, can you move any slower? We let you live here rent-free, and this is how you repay us. At least try to be useful." His friends laughed. My mother lowered her head and kept serving like a servant in the home she once owned. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I smiled, helped her clear the table, and kissed her goodbye. But the second I got in my car, I started pulling every public record I could find. They thought they had years to humiliate my mother in her own house. They had 72 hours. Before we go any further, please take a moment to hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. And drop a comment below. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? I'd love to know. Now, I need to go back a little. My father, Richard Hayes, died 6 years ago, heart attack in the middle of the night. My mother, Helen, found him at 5 a.m. She didn't scream. She sat beside him on the bed and waited until the sun came up to call anyone. She wanted to give him one more sunrise. That's the kind of woman my mother is. For 28 years, Mom worked as a clerk at the county courthouse. She filed deeds, processed liens, stamped documents. She could tell the difference between a quitclaim and a warranty deed faster than most attorneys. After Dad died, the house, a 3-bedroom ranch on a half-acre lot, passed to Mum through his will. That was their life's work. I'm the older child. I moved to Harrisburg at 24 to work as a paralegal. It's 3 hours from Mum's place. After Dad died, I drove down every month. Then my brother Brandon got married. Brandon is 4 years younger, a plumber. He married a woman named Megan Price. Megan had been an assistant manager at a retail store. She quit before the wedding. At the reception, she gave a toast about how family is the most important thing in the world. She looked straight at my mother when she said it. 2 years ago, Brandon and Megan moved into my mother's house. To help Mum, Brandon told me, she shouldn't be rattling around that house alone. You don't need to drive down every weekend. I believed him. I stopped visiting as often. Once a month became once every 2 months. Brandon said Mum was busy. Megan said Mum was doing great. Mum said she was fine. That was my first mistake, trusting the people who were supposed to love her. Here's what I didn't know. Within 3 months of moving in, Megan rearranged the entire house. She took the master bedroom, my parents' room, and moved Mum into the back bedroom, the smallest one, with the slanted ceiling and the clicking baseboard heater. She replaced the living room furniture. She changed the locks and gave Mum a key to her own house. She took over the mailbox, the bills, and the Wi-Fi password. She told the neighbors that Helen had decided to step back from hosting for health reasons. She created a quiet, thorough erasure of my mother's authority, all with a warm smile and the language of concern. The Thanksgiving text came on a Wednesday morning. "Don't come, daughter. I'm busy." My mother has never once called herself busy. She says tired, fine, blessed. Busy is a scheduling word. That text didn't sound like her. I left work early, packed an overnight bag, and got on the interstate. 3 hours later, I turned onto the 2-lane road. Travis's truck was in the driveway. 2 other cars sat on the lawn. Bass thumped through the windows. I knocked. Megan opened the door. Her smile appeared half a second after her eyes registered me. That delay I'll never forget. She was wearing a fitted black dress, gold earrings, fresh dark red nails. She looked like she was hosting a gala. I walked to the kitchen. My mother stood at the stove in her old grey apron with the ink stain on the pocket. Her hair was in a loose knot. Her hands were red, knuckles raw, skin cracked. 3 pots going, oven beeping, sink full of dishes. In the dining room, Brandon sat at the head of the table, my father's seat, beer in hand, telling a story to 4 friends. Megan sat at the other end. 6 place settings. Brandon, Megan, 4 friends. No setting for my mother, no chair. "Mum," I said softly. She turned, eyes red at the edges, and gave that automatic smile. "Lily, why did you come?" Not anger, fear underneath. She was afraid I would see. From the dining room. "Mum, can you bring the cranberry sauce and maybe refill the glasses while you're up?" Megan's voice, like talking to a waitress. My mother went. I pulled a stool from the hallway and sat at the corner of the table. Brandon's friends treated her like staff. "Thanks, Helen. Hey, can we get more of those sweet potatoes?" My mother stood up 7 times in 40 minutes. She never sat. She never ate. Brandon didn't look at her once. After dinner, I helped her carry plates. That's when I saw the list taped to the fridge with a sunflower magnet. White-lined paper, neat handwriting I didn't recognize at first. Megan's. Heading, Mum's Daily Tasks Task. 6:30 a.m. laundry. 8 a.m. kitchen cleanup. 10 a.m. grocery run. 12 p.m. lunch prep. 2 p.m. yard work. 5 p.m. dinner prep. 8 p.m. final dishes, plus wipe down plus sweep. 14 hours of labor for a 62-year-old woman, written by a 28-year-old who hadn't touched a mop in 2 years. I took a photo. Mum saw me looking and slid a child's crayon drawing over the list. "That's just to help me remember things," she said. "My mother is 62. She spent 28 years tracking deed numbers. She doesn't need a list to remember to clean her own house." Later, after Megan and Brandon went upstairs, Mum and I were alone. "Why did you text me not to come?" She didn't look up. "I didn't want to bother you. You have your own life." That's not an answer. Her hand stopped. "It's the one I have." I glanced at her phone on the windowsill. Unlocked. I opened her messages. My text history was almost empty. Dozens of messages I'd sent over 2 years. "Dozens of miss you, Mum. Call me. I love you." All deleted. Except one from 3 months ago. "Dozens. I love you, Mum. Call me anytime." It had been read 38 times. Mum was watching me. She didn't explain. She just looked at me with eyes that had been quietly drowning for 20 months. Then she turned off the light. "Drive safe, honey." I drove 3 hours home with no radio. By the time I pulled into my parking lot, I wasn't Lily the daughter anymore. I was Lily the paralegal, and somebody had forged a document. Saturday morning, I called my mother's neighbor, Dorothy Miller. "Connie," I said. Everyone calls her Connie. "How is my mum? And don't say fine." The pause lasted 3 seconds. "Your mum stopped coming outside about a year ago. She used to garden every morning. Now I only see her hauling trash cans or mowing the lawn. Mum was mowing, washing cars, raking, things my father used to do." "About a year ago, your mum stopped calling it my house. She started saying Brandon's house. I asked her once, and she said, 'Things change, Connie. They signed some papers.' But her face, she didn't look like someone who'd made a choice." I drove to the county recorder's office. The clerk pulled up my mother's address. Owner, Helen Marie Hayes. Transfer date, 6 years ago. No subsequent transfer, no sale, no lien, no quitclaim. The house had never left my mother's name. I got a certified copy. Wednesday afternoon, Brandon was on a plumbing job. Megan posted a photo of her nails at the salon. I let myself into Mum's house with the spare key under the ceramic pot by the back door. Mum was on her knees in the hallway, scrubbing the baseboard with a toothbrush. I asked her to sit. In the kitchen, Only 2 place settings on the table, Brandon's and Megan's. "Where do you eat, Mum?" She gestured toward the counter. "I usually just grab something while I'm cleaning up." I asked her to show me the paper she'd signed. She went to her small back bedroom, reached behind a stack of towels, and pulled out a manila folder labeled Property Transfer. Inside, a single sheet of paper with a bold header, blocks of legal-sounding text, 2 name fields, Helen Hayes and Brandon Hayes, and my mother's signature, shaky but real, dated 20 months ago. To anyone who'd never held a real property document, this would look legitimate. I've held hundreds. This had no county seal, no recording number, no notary stamp, no legal description. It was created on a home computer, printed on copy paper, font Calibri. My mother, who processed real estate documents for 28 years, had signed it because Megan told her it was for mortgage restructuring and because she trusted her son's wife. Underneath it was another document in Megan's handwriting: house agreement. In exchange for continued residence in the back bedroom, Helen Hayes agrees to perform the following household duties. The same 7 daily tasks. My mother's signature next to Megan's. A fake deed and a labor contract. Not because anyone held her down, because she believed it. I photographed everything, then put the folder back. I sat across from my mother. "Mum, would you sign the house over to me?" Her eyes filled. She pressed her lips together. "If I do that, they'll leave. And then what? I'll be here alone. And then what? I'll be here alone." That was the deepest lock. Megan had made my mother believe that servitude was the price of company. Mum was more afraid of silence than servitude. I took her hands. "You won't be alone, I promise." A week later, I tested something. I stopped by when Megan was alone. "That list on the fridge," I said. "That's a lot of tasks." Megan set down her coffee slowly. Her doctor actually recommended it. "Structure keeps her joints moving and her mind sharp. She asked for it, Lily." Then the knife. "We gave up everything to be here. I left my job. Travis works overtime. If you were here more often, you'd see how much she enjoys having things to do." "If you were here more often," fanned, aimed right at my guilt. I nodded, thanked her, and left. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I picked up my mother and drove her to the notary on Main Street. The notary recognized her. I placed a real deed in front of her, prepared by an attorney at my firm. Legal description, parcel number, county reference, grantor Helen Hayes, grantee Lily Hayes. Mum held it, reading the way she used to read documents at the courthouse. "I thought I already lost the house," she whispered. "I thought they took it." "They couldn't. The paper Megan gave you was never filed. You never lost anything." She signed, clear and steady. The notary stamped it. I filed a copy that afternoon. On Thanksgiving, I drove back with a white folder under my arm. Same scene, Mum in the kitchen, Brandon at the head of the table, friends around him, Megan beside him. I pulled my stool to the edge. I ate, smiled, helped Mum bring out the sweet potatoes. I listened to Megan say, "Mum, more wine, 3 times in 38 minutes. After dinner, I went to the kitchen. Mum was already at the sink in cracked rubber gloves. I touched her shoulder. She knew. I reached for the folder. Her wet hand caught my wrist. "Please, Lily, they'll leave, and I'll be alone." I held her hand. "You will not be alone. Not tomorrow. Not ever." She exhaled, shaky, and stepped back. I walked into the dining room. "Can everyone hear me for a minute?" I had to say it twice. Megan looked up, saw the folder, annoyance flashing. "Before you say anything, Lily, Travis and I gave up everything to be here. I think we've earned a little respect." I opened the folder. "My mother signed this house over to me 3 weeks ago at a notary. Stamped, recorded, Legal deed of transfer. I placed it on the table. Megan's smile froze. That's impossible. The house was transferred to Brandon 2 years ago. She went to the bedroom and returned with the manila folder, slamming it down. See? Signed and transferred. I took it from her. This document has no county seal, no recording number, no notary stamp, no legal description. It was never filed. It's a piece of paper from a home computer. I set it next to the real deed. This is what a real property transfer looks like. Then I pulled out the photo of the house agreement. My mother signed a contract to work as a servant in her own house in exchange for a bedroom in a house she already owned, because she believed a fake piece of paper that told her it wasn't hers anymore. The front door opened. Connie walked in, coat still buttoned, a pie in her hand. She stood behind my mother. I've been next door for 30 years. I watched Helen raise 2 children, bury a husband, keep that garden alive. Then I watched her disappear. She stopped coming outside. She stopped having visitors. She started doing yard work she never did before. And when I came to the door with pie, you told me she was too busy. I placed the final document, the certified county record. This house has been in Helen Hayes's name since Richard's will was probated 6 years ago. No transfer, no sale, no filing of any kind. The house never changed hands. One of Brandon's friends pushed his chair back. Another stood. Megan turned to Brandon. Say something, Travis. Tell them about the agreement. She signed it. Brandon stared at the fake document, mouth open. He'd never looked. Or he'd chosen not to. You didn't just lie to her, I said. You built a system, a fake deed to take her ownership, a contract to replace it with labor, a daily task list to enforce it. You isolated her, deleted her messages, and made her believe that cooking and cleaning for your dinner parties was the price of not being thrown out. Megan's face went white. The friends filed out. The front door closed. Brandon sat with his palms flat on the table. Are you just going to sit there? Megan hissed. He didn't move. I turned to my mother. She was standing in the doorway, Connie's hand on her shoulder. Not behind a counter, not carrying a plate, just standing. Mom's name is on this deed. It always was, and now it's on a new one, signed of her own free will. This house belongs to her. I looked at Megan. You have 72 hours to move out. Megan looked at Brandon. He stood up, walked upstairs without a word. She followed. The house went quiet. Connie set the pie on the counter, poured a glass of water, and placed it in front of my mother. Mum sat down at the table. For the first time in 2 years, nobody was asking her to stand up. I knew, she said quietly. I knew it wasn't right. But I was so scared. If I said something, they'd leave, and it would just be me. Alone. I took her hand. You're not alone, Mum. You never were. The next morning, Brandon came downstairs with a duffel bag. Megan was already outside by the truck, pacing, talking fast on her phone. Mum was still asleep, first time she'd slept past 6 in 2 years. Brandon stood in the doorway. I'm sorry, Mum, he said, but he was looking at me. She's asleep, I said. He nodded. Then, I knew Lily, the whole time. I saw the list. I saw Mum scrubbing floors before sunrise while Megan slept until 10. I watched her eat standing at the counter. I told myself she was fine, but I knew what it looked like, every day. His voice cracked. Why didn't you stop it? He looked at the chair at the head of the table. Dad's chair. Because it was easy. Megan handled everything. If I said something, I'd lose the free rent and the hot meals. It was easier to pretend than to admit I was letting her be used. He picked up his bag and walked out. He paused on the porch, then kept going. The truck started, backed out, and drove away. Mum appeared in the hallway a few minutes later. Bathrobe, bare feet, no apron. She watched the empty driveway, then walked to the kitchen. The list was gone. I'd taken it down. Just the sunflower magnet, a wedding photo of my parents, and a crayon drawing from Connie's grandson. She opened the back door. Cold November air came in. She looked at the overgrown garden, the thick leaves, the tangled flower borders. I'll need to fix that. We'll fix it together. She walked to the hook by the back door, the grey apron with the ink stain. She touched it, held it for a moment, then hung it back. I don't think I need that today. She sat at the kitchen table. I poured her coffee in her favourite mug, the faded daisies that Megan had moved to the back of the cabinet. Mum held it with both hands and looked out at the light through the bare November trees. The garden was a mess, the tomato cages tilted and rusted. But the light was good, the house was quiet, and nobody was going to ask her to do anything. I washed the breakfast dishes. She watched me from the table. She didn't offer to help. She didn't stand up. She just sat there, maybe understanding for the first time in a long time that she was allowed to be still. That afternoon, I moved her things back into the master bedroom, her quilts, her clock, her reading lamp, the photo of Dad in his fishing hat. I put the wedding portrait back on the wall. Mum stood in the doorway. I thought I'd never sleep in here again. It was always yours, Mum. She ran her hand along the window seat, then sat on the bed. Her bed, the one she'd shared with Dad for 30 years, and just breathed. Connie came Sunday with apple pie. Mum laughed, a real laugh, short and surprised. We sat on the back porch with coats and scarves, mugs of coffee going cold. Nobody was timing us. Nobody was writing a task list. Connie talked about the neighborhood, new fence, a fallen oak limb. Small, normal things. Then Mum looked at the garden. Connie, why didn't you say something? Connie was quiet. I wanted to, but I told myself it wasn't my place. I was wrong. I should have called Lily the first week. Mum nodded. She didn't say it was okay, but she reached over and squeezed Connie's hand. Later, as I packed my bag, Mum stopped me in the hallway. Your father would have done what you did, but faster and louder. I smiled. Somebody had to be the quiet one. You were never quiet, Lily. You were just patient. She hugged me, and for the first time in 2 years, she didn't smell like bleach. Brandon called 2 weeks later. I didn't answer. He texted, "Can we talk?" I replied, "You had 2 years to talk. You chose silence." He didn't respond. A week after that, I know I don't deserve it, but can I see Mum? I forwarded the text to Mum. She read it, set her phone down and said, "Not yet." That was her choice, the first real choice she'd made about her own family in 2 years. Megan posted something online about toxic family members who tear families apart for control. I didn't respond. I don't need to. The county record says what it says, and the house agreement is in my office safe, alongside the fake property transfer, ready if it ever needs to see a courtroom. My mother gardens every morning now. She starts around 7, while the dew is still on the grass. She planted new tulip bulbs last week, the same variety she and my father put in the year they bought the house. She found the old receipt in a box in the garage, inside a seed envelope with Dad's handwriting. Spring '96. The good ones. She's sleeping in her own bedroom again. The window seat catches the morning light. She keeps Dad's fishing hat on the bedpost. Connie brings pie on Sundays. Sometimes they sit on the porch and don't say a word for an hour. Last Sunday, Mum said she was thinking about getting a dog. Connie said she'd help pick one out. I drive down every other weekend now. I don't wait for an invitation. I just go, we cook together. She doesn't cook alone anymore unless she wants to. The stool I used at Thanksgiving is gone. There's a fourth chair at the table now. Mine. The list is gone. The folder is gone. The apron stays on the hook. If you've ever watched someone you love disappear inside their own home, if you've ever seen them serve and smile and say, "I'm fine," when they weren't, I hope this story reminds you it is never too late to pull them out, even if they're afraid. Some people will tell you family means sacrifice, and maybe it does. But sacrifice means choosing, not being tricked into giving away everything you own and calling it love. My mother's name was always listed on that deed. She simply needed someone to point it out to her.